Spring camp. And of course, there's always updates about that here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. That's your boy Coop. I am your boy Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet and like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. Y'all don't think we deserve it. Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop got a lot of great stuff to dive into, like spring camp. There are some major developments when it comes to some particular players. We'll talk injury bugs, as we know some players are out, and the question is, how long? SP Plus dropped its rankings and is now to see initially where the Sooners sit, as there's a very good chance that that sitting could lead to some actual good news. Coop, happy Sunday, my guy. How are you doing?
It is. It's fun. It's fun to have football back in the air. Some excitement. We've got it. We've got it. So, I mean, potential good news coming in too, Jay. And so it's going to be a loaded show. So, let us know in the comments if there's players that you're, really looking forward to, hearing stuff about. And what's up there, Brinsky, sharpshooter fella?
What's good? What's good, Brinsky? What's good, everybody? What's good, Mars? I see you in there. What's going on, Keith? Thank y'all pulling up, Stevie. Mods are in. Yo.
Mars.
Coach Powers, what it do, my guy? There's a lot of excitement to really talk about around spring camp. But yeah, man, there's so much information flowing in, so many observations. We've seen the videos, the propaganda is being placed on the field right now. We're getting to enjoy all of it. Great catches, great defense, you name it. We're seeing it. Chuck, what it do? Hey, Jimmy. Want to give y'all a shout out early on the show before we jump into it, because I know when we start talking, we just be talking, right? We just be we go hard in the paint. But no, Coop, let's lead off. I think spring camp is what everybody's here for. We've seen all the reports flowing down. If you are a part of the initiated and are hardcore on the notes that's flying around from every single insider, shout out to them. There's a lot of information flowing. And I think offensively is probably where I want to start. Freshman-wise, the expected are doing things that you expect. You're seeing videos and notes on Jonathan Hatton, Des Walker, and it looks like Jasir Rogers may be trying to carve out a home. And I kind of want to talk about him real quick, because the other thing question everybody's asking is Elijah Thomas going to break out and be that dude? So, Coop, I believe the perspective needs to be set with a lot of our people here. Mm-hmm. And I say that because the challenge with ET has always been, and BV talked about it recently via his post-practice media availability, that ET played both sides of the ball back in his heyday, and he really was just the most athletic dude on the field. So there wasn't much playing wide receiver. It was just the ball's going to be in the air, go get it type deal. Yeah. And now at this level, he's adjusting to not only routes, but the thing that I've preached the most, which is flow of the game. He's got to understand how to be involved, even if you're not, quote unquote, involved. So those are some of the challenges I know that he's working through, but I think ET has an opportunity. But I think that Jasir Rogers comes in with that capability day one.
I think that you're right. And let's just be honest. Jasir knows that Spider-Man Brand New Day is about to come out this summer. And so he wants to leverage the Spider-Man. But, we've seen this with Jaren Kanak in the past. Jaren Kanak was just a gnarly football player. The type of dude who usually goes to Kansas State and just becomes a pain in the butt for everybody that plays against him. we took an extreme athlete and you got to put him over into the linebacker side and teach him the nuances of playing linebacker, not just being the best athlete on the field. And it's the same thing with Elijah Thomas. We've seen the dunks last year. We've heard about all of the measurables and whatnot, but you can't just go out there and out-athlete people. I mean, unless you're a guy like Megatron, he's 6'5" and runs a 4.3, stuff like that. Like, you could do those things if you're that big and you just over the top, are better than everybody. But when you're a freakish athlete, the nuances of the game, the flow of the game, getting yourself into, because, you're as a wide receiver, I mean, if you play 60 snaps and you get the ball thrown to you like 7 times, that's a lot of plays where you got to be out there doing other things. Maybe your route is to open somebody else up. Maybe your route only becomes open if you run it crisp and somebody else does their job. So
yeah,
we want to see it, and we want to see that athlete get unleashed and really tap into it. But then you got Jasir Rogers, who that's what he played. He was just a wide receiver. So he gets out there, he's doing his game, and so I think you're going to see a lot of it in the wide receiver room. You got a lot of young talent, and not a lot of spots for those young talents to come in and take snaps from veteran guys. Trell Harris, Parker Livingston, Satania. You got to do the little things correct because it's trust. Can't have an oops, Jay, especially when the quarterback's running a timing route, or he needs your route to go a specific way so that he can know where to throw the ball to somebody different.
Yeah, and Robert, I think you're right here, which this is kind of like the point of why I've told people patience with ET is kind of critical. It's not that we don't think that he's not an elite athlete. Like, I think a lot of these dudes one-on-one are probably kicking the tail out of the defense, like kicking them in the teeth. But it's less about how you can do one-on-one. It's more about if you're tipping your hand because they're going on the field. See what I'm saying? Like, and I know a lot of you get that. I'm more so to those that are wondering, okay, why isn't Elijah Thomas taking over? It's like Robert mentioned, it's learning the technical aspects of playing wide receiver, and that's going to be important for him if he's going to be your top dog or one of your top dogs. So I do see him making his way in there, and Coop, you said it perfectly. Jasir Rogers played wide receiver only, and that's what he did in Delaware. He uber athletic, great at spotting the ball, finding it, and catching it. He doesn't have to be just the most athletic, even though he's very athletic. He can he can hit those routes, which is critical. And so when as ET develops and evolves that, I can 100% see him becoming one of your top guys. Could it be the season? Maybe. Most likely, I think for the wide receiver room, I would anticipate anyone underneath Jermichael Carter to be preparing themselves for 2027. Granted, though, this staff has shown us that they do rotate a lot of players.
Yeah.
And as these younger players, which now have, let me see, we had 8 returning starters and on offense, or players with at least 6 starts, and you've had a whole bunch of players returned from last season. Teaching the playbook is going to be a hell of a lot easier this year than it was last year, because last year you had technically 3 dudes: Kuzieski, Arbuckle, Mateer. That's it. Didn't bring any of the coaches with them. Any of that. It was those 3 were the only dudes that knew the O, and they were basically trying to teach it on the fly with everybody else. And remember, little nuances of plays get picked up over time. It's things that you catch as you go through the motions of, oh, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be and why, as you see. And that's how you saw as the season progressed, when Mateer's thumb also progressed. You start to see those plays, those layered passes start to show. Tennessee game, Alabama, you saw some layered passes. Missouri, you saw him against LSU. You saw him in Alabama the second time. Now you're seeing those layers. You'll see that, okay, they're going to get there. We just got to give them some time. But I digress from that. It sounds like Bowe Bentley is that dude, Coop. I mean, I know that we kind of had an idea that he was going to be really good based upon, how dominant he was in high school. But it sounds like this is like completely different than the last quarterback that we thought was going to be that dude.
I mean, you get a little bit of a reputation for you can't turn these guys who you're recruiting into dudes, and so he's the next one up, right? Because we saw it with young Arnold. He looked really, really good when he was able to step in and there wasn't a lot of pressure on him. And then, when it got time for it to be him, we saw more and more of the mistakes. We've seen a bevy of these guys come through the past couple of years. And so, there's a lot of pressure there because you got to be the next guy. I mean, that's the mantle that he rides right now. You're the next guy. So hopefully he can come in. And what the things that I like about the film that you're seeing, dude can spin it. Like, he's got great technique. He's got a good throwing motion. I saw people making comments about hey, look, there's no sidearm tosses or anything like that. So he looks like a little. It reminded me of Dylan Gabriel with that 8 on his back. But he looks like he has prepared himself well for the college experience, and there's going to be a lot of coaching there. He is going to be with Mateer on the sideline every time he comes over. When Mateer's out there, he's going to be watching these things. There's going to be a lot of film study. There's going to be conversation with Arbuckle and Kuzieski with him over there on the sideline. There's going to be a lot, and hopefully, he can progress. And when it's his time to take over, we don't have a take 2 of Mr. Arnold.
No, I don't think we will, and that's going to be more contingent. Honestly, I think it's less on Bowe, more on who the OC is. As long as next season you have Ben Arbuckle here, I think he'll be fine. And I will die on this hill that if Lebby was here in 24, you don't get that from Jackson Arnold, even with the offensive line struggles. You don't get that from Arnold because Lebby coaches similar to what you got out of Lane Kiffin, right? And Josh Heupel. They have moments where they're the quarterback. So they basically give them everything they need to run the play and how to get it done. And Lebby's really good at teaching receivers. We've seen that. And you saw that when Emmett Jones got here and it was working with Andrew Anthony and everything in 23. 23, you could see just the relationship and how everybody worked well together. And then when you got healthy in 23, you really saw it when the run game started going. That's when you got Sawchuk getting 100 yards every game or whatnot, et cetera, so on and so forth. But I will let down the hill that if Lebby was here in 24, that you don't have that season. Lebby gets a head coaching job. You can't do anything about that. Yeah. I don't think Ben's going to be up for a head coaching job, even if he dominates this season. I think he sticks it out through the 3 years. And if he does it the second year with Bowe Bentley and he goes out there and cooks, then I could possibly see him ending up getting an opportunity for a head coaching job. That's the only fear I have out of it. But I digress. He looks good, and he's going to be battling for that number 2 spot. So Whit Neubauer and Jet News got some work to do in keeping the young bull out of there. But don't worry, I don't expect him. Honestly, I don't expect Bowe to really take any snaps until the end of the season. I don't even expect him to take snaps in the 2 garbage games that we have early, those 2 non-cons, because New Mexico State's actually, the Lobos are actually not a bad team for their conference. We should blow them out, but they're not a bad team for their conference. And UTEP looked actually a lot better than I thought they would last year. So I'm curious to see how all of that goes with the quarterback competition. But I could totally see Bowe Bentley playing later in the season because they're going to want to get him some snaps.
I mean, it's not crazy to think that having some continuity, like with the offensive, game plans and what you're being coached, how you're being coached, the things that they're asking you. Because, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into the Jackson Arnold stuff, but, you have Bowe Bentley going in throughout this whole year. He's got the same cadence coming from everybody on this side, and then you get into next year and it's the same stuff. You know how to build a little bit better on that. Where then you bring in somebody different and it's different, different conversations, different terminologies, and you kind of have to unlearn what you learned and then learn something else. So it's a good thing to have Whit Neubauer, Jet New there also. And, we'll probably see one of those guys head somewhere else next year.
Yeah, you could. I could totally see it, getting them an opportunity to play. And then you got to build your quarterback room like you always do. Running backs. Yeah. I think let's talk. We'll talk defense in a minute. We're going to talk. I think we should jump right into running backs as well as the injury bug. Thank y'all for pulling up. Go ahead, hit that like button if you are new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. So you're seeing a lot of, I think I saw in one of the reports somebody pointed out, looks like X-Rob may have tweaked his ankle. You're seeing a lot of Hatton and Des Walker runs. I think it's Parker Thune. I actually think I saw him post something on that. But you're seeing a lot of Jonathan Hatton and Des Walker. Tory Blaylock's out for the spring. Brent Venables announced that during one of his pressers post-practice. Andy Bass sounds like he's healthy. Still got Gabe Salchuk as well. But the guy that's been turning the heads the most, Lloyd Avant. The little bowling ball is doing some stuff. And you still got Ben McCrary, who's the older brother of Michael McCrary, the cornerback commit we have. I am curious to see just how many snaps Lloyd Avant ends up taking away from some of these young players.
It's spring. So I'm not too worried about it yet because
it's spring.
They're still getting the the feel for this level. But you can't coach size, you can't coach those intangibles, and Hatton and Walker both look like they're it. And so usually you've got like a thunder and lightning type of like a pair. It just looks like we got 2 sets of thunder. And so pretty excited about that. But it's good to hear about Lloyd Avant because there, Sean, I think that you're right. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to return kicks. We've heard some talk that we're going to do a little bit more on the return game this year.
Yep.
And we say it every year. It's only spring. But, we didn't see Tory Blaylock really take off and become a factor as a potential starter until the fall when all the injuries were going on.
Yep.
But, Jay, I'm just going to say it. Like, if you can't stay healthy, like the dependability, the best ability is availability, right? We're going to see the same thing happen again. And I just, it's good Avant is showing some stuff because I think that's a big reason why Tory, got nicked and just couldn't get healthy is there was nobody else, just like the offensive line last year. There was nobody else to take the load off. And so, and I think we're going to get hold on a second. What's, how is Brent Venables changing the practices? Are they less intense? Like you tweak an ankle, you can tweak an ankle running through drills. You can tweak an ankle, going to get your meal in the cafeteria. Like you can do, but you got to be there on the field. And so if we're saying this as like 2 of these guys they're studs, the pass blocking is really, really good for Zeph and Walker. I haven't heard anything pros or cons, as far as Hatton in that department, but I'm glad that Lloyd Avant is there because if you need that experience and you need somebody who's actually been there before and somebody who can take snaps, and then with Bass being healthy and him being able to take some snaps, you don't have to turn a whole load of attention over to the freshmen and put too much on them. You've got some capability, some rotation. But I mean, I would rather have 2 stud freshmen in this scenario versus a couple of unknowns.
That's what you want. You want to have depth comes at a premium. But the good thing is, as we've talked about numerous times, is we always see this staff heavily rotating players and getting them that experience needed, especially those young players, because we're going to play a lot of young running backs. I expect both Dez and Hatton to get a good amount of snaps just to help ease some of the load from Tory and X-Rob as we get through a long college football season. That's what's going to be key, is that running backs are the ones that get hit all the time, like all the time. They have no line. They get hit all the time. It's just a contact position. So you got to make sure you have guys that are ready to come in and play. But if Lloyd Avant can go out there and, especially in the pass game, if he can go out there and just be disruptive in messing up alignments, brother, I am excited about that. That's going to be a big deal. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. O-line, I did see. I think I saw somebody post that UK Dan has been on a scooter. So I know that he had a injury, but no one's given us an actual confirmation of what it is. So my anticipation is he's probably going to be out for probably the season. Since nobody said anything. Like, if he hasn't said anything, I know that he was seen at the game on a scooter, but no one's really given us an answer on that. So, yeah.
And
I don't know.
I mean, he factors in his depth, and so it's the next person up mentality. You know, it's not like it was the same stuff that we had with Taylor and Sexton, where they're guys who, you know, and Logan Hallen, who showed capabilities out on the field and had really, really good games. And, you know, we're coming around to it, and they just couldn't stay healthy. I mean, we still have not, you know, really seen him out there. So I think that the opportunity for, you know, some of the younger guys, some of the transfers is out there. There's, I think your starters are going to be, I mean, you're going to have 6 solid guys right now that you feel super comfortable with, and maybe 7, but you need 3 or 4 other guys. You need guys to continue to be in there, be able to, again, like I said, take snaps so that it's not the same 7 guys rotating day in and day out. You got you got Noah Best, you got Deacon Schmidt coming in, you know, you've got the transfers. So you just got to find 10 guys that are going to be able to do the job that they're supposed to do, and give some, you know, get some camaraderie there on the offensive line, because let's just be honest, the offensive line is going to be the key towards where our season goes. I said it, I think, last week. I said it the week before. If we have a good offensive line, everything's on the table. If we have a situation like last year, we're going to be, you know, scrapping and, you know, trying to do our best just to stay in every game and throw the knockout blow. But I would like to get back to spots to where we're scoring, you know, 40 points a game, you know, or in the mid-30s. That's what I would love to see, and give some complimentary football so that our defense doesn't have the damn game on their shoulder week in and week out.
Yep. And a lot of the good thing about some of these players, like you mentioned, you want to get 10 guys. I think you want to get 12 probably. You want to get your 2 deep and then a couple of swing guys. I'd say 12 is probably more of a safe number in my opinion, because what that does is, like I said, gives you those swing guys that you want to prepare for. But in a lot of those situations too, and I see you there, Sooner Cowboy, I think you have to understand they can play through. They're playing through them. They play through them in games. It's stupid to practice through them. Let's just keep it a buck. It makes no sense to practice through injuries when you don't need to. Just chill, rest your body up, get ready. Playing through them is different, and we had dudes play through injuries all season long. That's what's most important. Yeah. So, yeah, that's already happening. So we shouldn't pretend like that's not actually happening right now. But yeah, on the O-line, man, I can see some of with the freshmen I'm looking at, right? I think Deacon Schmidt may find a way in the rotation. That would be 100% interesting if he can make that happen. That I'm wondering where though. Where he could find his way, because it sounds like the way the offensive line configuration is to start is Fasusi, EPL on the left, Michaela's in your middle, Fogier's guard, and then Emarion Harris, which sounds like he's probably one of the biggest underrated pickups we've gotten at right tackle at that size. And then, of course, you got big old Hayden Henson right there next to him. Your outside zone's going to be nasty. Should be, at least.
Yeah, and you still have Heath Ozida, another guy who, battled through a lot of different stuff.
Too. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's the 6 guys that I think that you're set, like, that are going to be rotating. I think that Heath Ozida is going to try to do his best to disrupt that starting 5 that you just said. But you hear that EPL has, the first year, a little bit of a knucklehead, plays with great, intensity, but has the mental lapses, often. And so now you're starting to hear a lot of leadership coming from him, and a lot of the young guys are pointing towards him, how people used to point towards G Baby. Like, you got to think, like, how many times do we hear, during his sophomore year, during the early in the junior year, that people just were, lauding G Baby and just, pointing towards him as somebody who was going to, was going to be a breakout guy. And recruits would talk about him. A lot of people did. Well, now we saw it this past year. And so hopefully EPL can get that under wraps. I think that when you were talking about Deacon Schmidt, he's already said, I'll play wherever they need me. I think his future is at tackle, but if, coming in and being a guard early, kind of how we're seeing with Foje, if that's his path to play, then yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's get him out there. Let's have him learn those things, because that guy is one of the hardest working dudes I think I've ever seen, as far as a recruit goes, and he's intelligent. And if he has a mess up, he will get in the lab and he will work his butt off. But we need him as a backup. We need him as depth, as rotation, so that if somebody does tweak an ankle and needs to set out a drive, that he can come in. I would like to not have another year to where we're relying on freshmen, though.
I mean, that'd be great, right? We would love the idea of our freshmen getting an opportunity to kind of sit there and really learn and grow. But I mean, if you're good enough, let me ask you this, Coop. We've had a freshman All-American 2 years in a row since joining the SEC. 2, to be exact. 2 each year. Who's the 2 this year? Who will be the 2 you think could get it this year?
I mean, I got to go with either one of Hatton or Zephyr Walker.
Okay.
One of those guys.
Back. Okay.
Jasir Rogers.
So you're going, okay. So those would be the 2 offensive guys that you're picking. Okay.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, you look at the SEC. What was it? We looked a couple weeks ago. I think were there 4 people who ran for 1,000 yards in the SEC, and then the year before there were 3, one of them being and one quarterback. It's like running for 1,000 yards is difficult in the SEC. Like, there's just, this used to be, Alabama, Auburn, Cadillac Williams, and Ronnie Brown. You used to have all these. You used to have all these studs, and now if there's the opportunity for a Hatton or a Zephyr Walker to be out there quite often, I mean, we are wanting to focus on the run game. And we have also said this, guys, I will tell you this. The run game is going to be helped out a lot with the tight ends being able to block the run. It is going to help out tremendously. And so I think that with the maturity of the starting offensive line, those tight ends, some of the explosiveness from the guys that we have, Now, if we have like 6 different guys with 300 yards plus, I'm okay with that. Like, that doesn't bother me. I just want to average more than 3 point something a carry this year. I would like to be pushing at that 5 yards a carry. And I'd also like to see John
point too, which is good.
Yeah. I'd also like to see John Mateer maybe run when he wants to or has to, and not see a lot of quarterback, power game.
Yeah, run because he wants to, not really that he feels like it's a requirement. Sees that, oh, okay, yeah, there's an opening, I'm gonna take advantage of it, rather than okay, I'm gonna put the team on my back and go. And which, like I said, I don't think year 2 we got to worry about that, because I think year 2, that's the good thing about everybody knowing the playbook, having an extra year in the playbook.
Yeah.
So we ain't have to worry about
who's your 2?
Man, see, I've been thinking about that too, man. I think if I was to pick 2 on offense, I'd probably go with Hatton, as well as actually I may take a flyer on Petit, Jayden Petit. He may
can't
actually
teach that size.
Yeah, you can't, especially coming in at 220.
Yeah,
that's something you can't. I think Hatton's most likely, but I'd say probably those 2 would make the most sense.
Who on defense? If you got somebody there.
I do have someone on defense. Let's talk about that. Thank y'all for, of course, pulling up. Hit that like button if you are new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. No Gunner forever. We didn't make him RB1. We just said freshman All-American. It's a difference. You don't have to be a RB1 to be a freshman All-American. It just means you got to be a freshman that played a lot and contributed a lot. And there's a good chance that he could contribute a lot and very early. Defense-wise is the interesting one, too, because 24, we had 2 defensive freshmen All-Americans in Jayden Jackson and Eli Bowen. Last season, you had Cortland Guillory with Michael Fasusi. So you only had 1 defender, and this year you probably got an opportunity. Now, the challenge is I'm trying to figure out where freshmen are going to be able to take jobs. Because, I'm be honest, man, the depth, the competitive depth, looks really good on that side of the ball because it's Brent Venables and it's Brent Venables' defense. That's just what Brent Venables does. He's building defenses. And so when you really dive into the numbers of it, roster-wise, I don't know. J. Crow's probably the one name I would say I wouldn't be surprised at, but I need him at 245. That is where I get challenged at, and he's what, 230 something? So he's taking on the gaining weight component, or in the weight room component, seriously. But I don't know.
The next one.
Who would be that could find their way on the field. Like I say, he's 238 coming in. So he's almost at the weight. He may end up more than that going in. Maybe Trent Wilson. Maybe Trent Wilson puts up numbers because he's most likely going to be part of the rotation. Maybe he can. And then he's a redshirt freshman, so that counts. They do redshirt freshmen count on the freshman All-American or whatnot. But yeah, I don't know of anybody else outside of possibly Dane Bathurst that would probably be at the size and ready to play. Now, Marion Robinson's another one too. Like now when I'm looking at the roster here, probably got 3 names that would make sense. Ford, I know he's injured right now, but I don't see him jumping Amarian Robinson today based upon the way it's set up.
I got a name for you. Now, it's tough because of path to play, but we've
Yeah.
seen the rotation. We've seen the rotation, and eyeballs have been on the defensive backfield.
Yeah.
But what about Derek Johnson Jr.?
It's not out of the realm of possibility. Him or Tristan Haynes. Tristan's a redshirt freshman.
The reason why I say Derek Johnson is Pop's played in the league. He's been, coached up really, really well.
Yep.
I think he came in at 170, and what was he? He was up near the 185,
180 now.
6'2".
He's 180 on the last roster, yeah.
So we see the rotations, and I know that Jeremiah Newcomb and I know that Jacoby Johnson are going to have something to say about that, and they're very, very high on both of those guys.
Oh, I heard Coach Morgan talking really good about Jacoby and how the rotations keeping everybody fresh, how he really, really does like that. So, yeah, possibly. Yeah, Derek comes in. He's what, number 12? Yeah, he's listed as 6 foot 180. I think he's taller than that, but yeah, he's 6 foot 180 is what they have him listed as. And yeah, that's a 10-pound gain since coming in. Tristan Haynes is 6'1", 187 now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 6'2", 187 is what he's listed as.
Big.
So he's listed just like Jacoby at 6'2", but Jacoby's over 200. So he's a thinner version of Jacoby. Athletic as heck. But, yeah. Woo. A lot of questions there.
The clarity here for Mr. Brian Smith here is, no, just because your dad played in the league, but dude was a 4-star recruit.
He's for a reason.
He's
4-star for a reason.
He's been coached. They have made a lot of commentary about how he can come in, and I think that I saw somebody else say it. There's a lot of his technique is very, very, very clean. And his dad played defensive back, and so that's what he knows how to coach.
Specialize it in.
And but that's that's some good size. And if you have the opportunity to come in and rotate there, you get yourself a couple of opportunistic picks. And again, with Guillory being seen, and then with Eli Bowen being seen in the past, they're going to be looking at those guys, and those guys are going to get a lot of eyeballs. And so now it's a different coach, right? Jay Valai has moved on, so it is. Can Morgan continue that stretch where the defensive backs are getting a lot of looks, and everybody's on a clean slate? I mean, that your two starters are, but he's going to be looking at who's doing the right things, mostly consistent.
Yeah, and I don't see who is it. I don't think LeBron Bauer, since he's coming in the summer, being able to really move up very fast. But no, I could totally see it with Derek Johnson. Dakota Fields is also a redshirt freshman. Same thing with Tristan Haynes. So you've got some good young guys rotating. The question is going to be how impactful are they early to be able to get in there? Because it's Cortland and Eli. Jacoby's going to get a lot of rotations. It sounds like Jeremiah Newcomb is playing both Cheetah and DB.
Yeah.
So if you got him playing both of those roles, then we can totally anticipate that there's going to be a chance for somebody else to jump in at DB in the rotation spot. I actually think Newcomb's going to blitz a lot, if I'm going to be honest.
I know I say this a lot, but do you remember the days of trying to just roll in a young guy that just didn't make just the most ridiculous mistakes and just got burnt downfield at, not only at defensive back, but at safety too, like at corner and safety. And just now you're like talking about, who's going to be the seventh guy in line. And, you just have such a plethora of talent.
First world problems, man.
Yeah. Which it's being seen too, because we'll talk about it here in a few minutes. But there's a lot of positivity about another big time, defensive backfield guy, kind of pending to commit to the Sooners, and people are seeing this defense. You saw the safeties. I mean, you lose a guy like Hardy to go start for another D1 program. You got the two young kids out there going crazy. I think Amarian Robinson is going to show up and show out on the field too. So, yeah, there's a good problem to have, that you are just wondering which one of these guys are going to get on the field. Because I think Jacob Curry is probably going to find himself in that mix of doing linebacker / cheetah also.
Yeah, he is one that I'm sensing is going to find a way to hit the field a lot earlier, right? Like your starters, of course, are Boganowski, Bowen, and then you got RP3 at cheetah, and I can see him being one of the safety rotations with Amarian Robinson.
Yeah,
and then bringing in like somebody else at cheetah. I've heard about Taylor Heim and Cole Sullivan playing together, which going into linebackers, man, linebacker room is the most interesting one, of course, as we're going through fall camp. And we talked about this before. I love that Stoya posted the video, and it was like, I don't think Oklahoma's had a guy this rangy at linebacker. I love Stoya, so I had to post the video he posted of Danny Stutzman like the year before, because they're like basically the same size type dude. Now, I think Cole Sullivan does have longer arms, but him and Kendall Daniels, of course, exist. And KD5 was absurd in size.
Yeah.
Like, he was a huge human being. And people understood that when you saw him. But besides that, Cole's going to be out. Hey, Cole and Dane Bathurst really intrigued me just because of the size they walk on the field with. 6'3", 6'4", already at the 230, 240 range, roughly. Bathurst is your biggest guy at 240. Sullivan is 230, 235-ish. You're going to have a big future linebacker room. Let's put it that way. Because Nesta also is turning heads. And I can see Nesta playing a lot with maybe like a Taylor Heim.
Yeah.
Big Lurch. Always possibility.
Listen, the size in the middle means something. It's hard. Like, we didn't see people really take advantage of the middle, very often. And I think a lot of it's Kendall Daniels. And I still remember was it Ole Miss where he just he stood up and he did like the Michael Myers, like, he kind of just like turned and looked at him and then just lit him. And then, we also know what he did against Michigan. So you want to get, it's just so
I get emotional every time I think about it. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Continue. Go ahead. Continue. Give me a second. I got to clean up my face.
But no, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff coming out. Nesta, Nesta looks like he is, kind of grasping stuff. He's been in the system for a little bit longer. And so him and Cole, as they rotate, and then we still have the opportunity for Owen Heineke. And
we do.
You move
that is
him
still
back
floating.
In. And we
the
told you on Sunday.
Anticipation is that
news was coming.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, we did. You're right.
And it came the next day.
Coop. 24 hours later, Coop's like, 20 hours before, Coop's like, hey, man, there's a chance that something's going to happen with this Owen Heineke piece. Sounds like Nagy and them are serious, especially when Nagy talked about it in his presser. And then, boom, on Monday, we have the news that comes down the line. You're like, oh, okay. Well, that's great information to see in here. Sign me up twice.
And it's of note that sounds like Trinidad Chambliss is going to be clear to play. So there are some pitfalls in this situation. Because the NCAA, I mean, they're basically getting lockered. And when you do something like that, the NCAA, I understand how they're spending money on attorneys, across the country for some of these guys, but there's some potential pitfalls, but I mean, you don't worry about don't borrow worry from tomorrow.
Yeah.
You focus on what you can do. Obviously, like the administration, Roger Denny, everybody knows all the opportunities and all the ways that this thing can go. And both Owen's side and the university side says, hey, listen, let's do this. And I think that he's going to be a guy that, as you get towards the summer, a lot of people are going to have him on the Butkus award list, watch list. They're going to have him, preseason SEC team somewhere because he showed out this past year.
He did. And Curry, I think, plays more. I don't think he moves to safety because he's around what Kip was when he first got here. So he's athletic. He's at 207. Kip came in at like 200 as well. He's now 226. He'll probably get up to 230, 235 would be his goal to prepare for the NFL. But no, I think Jacob Curry at 6 foot-ish, if he gets up to at least 220, which I think that's the push for him, he'll play a combination of linebacker. And honestly, with his athleticism, he'll probably play cheetah. I can see him at cheetah. I don't know if he'd go to safety, though. Safety just feels like they wouldn't move him there. He would be better served as a cheetah or whatnot. So
it'd be hard to, with what we have coming in at safety, guys still yet to commit, wink, wink. And, there's just a lot of traffic out in front of him. We got a little spoiled. We had Deshaun McCullough, huge monster of a guy. And then we had KD5, again, same thing. But the guy that really took Cheetah to the next level was who? Kendall Dolby. Kendall Dolby wasn't a big giant guy, but he was a dude who could blitz. He could come up and support in the run. He did really, really well in pass coverage. And prior to that injury, I mean, he revolutionized that position, and he had it on lockdown, and we saw how impactful he was. So I think that you've got guys like Reggie Powers, who now that's his mantle. The next guy up, it could be a Newcomb, could it be a Curry? There's a lot of different guys that you have out there who could potentially be that. And again, another good problem to have.
Dobie, to me, Dobie was a bigger loss than a lot of people realize.
Yeah,
like he was one of the heart and soul components of that defense, and he cleaned up a lot. Right, he did a good job of helping like the Kip and the Danny of cleaning up things on the defense just because of how talented he was. And that sucks that you would lose him, but now I think they've got a good template or blueprint of what they want that position to look like going forward.
Yeah. And guys want to play it. Yeah. Guys want to play it for Brent Venables.
Because it's a fun position, man. You're like running around hitting people all the time. What's better than that? What's better than taking people's heads off? Cool.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I want to level people. Give me that role. Let me do that. D-line, of course, as I got Monty Cisco pointed out here, 3 potential first-round picks on the D-line. That has been talked about by NFL scouts. Coop, what do you think about that? How confident do you feel in that possibly happening?
Everybody loves himself a D-line. And if you are, I mean, it's going to be testing and stuff like that when it finally gets to that spot. Both Stone is, he was seen in a boot. Jayden had a little cleanup, so those guys are going to be out for right now. But man, I tell you this, it is going to be, that's going to be great. And there's a negative that's going to come with that too. It's not a bad negative, but Miguel Chavis puts 3 dudes and Todd Bates, if we get 3 guys in the first round, I don't think Todd Bates is ever going to go anywhere. I think he's a Brent Venables guy until he's retiring. But Chavis is going to become one of the hottest names in college football, and he's going to get some looks as potential DC opportunities. But again, you can't borrow that from tomorrow. I think that all three of those guys are going to be first-round draft picks, and I would almost guarantee that they're all going to be at least first or second-round draft picks.
Yep. I'm thinking you're going to possibly have two guys that could go top 10, similar to what BV had. What was that?
13.
13. When he had 3 defensive linemen go in the first round in the top 20 picks. Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, the dudes are studs. And it's one thing to recruit a 5-star like a David Stone, and he just ends up being what we all hoped he would be. But you get Jayden Jackson, who started, actually was in a more of a sped up process to starting than David was. And Jayden has just got a motor. He is disruptive. He makes plays. But Taylor Wine is one, again, we continue to say this over and over again. We saw Taylor Wine while watching some other guys. And they were like, who's that guy? Who's that guy right there? And so to bring him in and develop him to become this, now we got this next, who's the next Taylor Wine? Which is a crazy, crazy thing to say. Because if you would have said that 2 years ago, who's the next Taylor Wine? Everybody would be like, what does that mean?
Who?
Maybe even the beginning of the year last year.
Yeah, beginning of the year. But you knew it. I mean, SEC Media Days is when R. Mason Thomas reminded you, hey, this dude's going to be somebody. And then he goes in there and he is somebody. I mean, that Tennessee game and honestly the Alabama game just made him legendary. 100%. The Alabama game made him legendary. That sack, the move first, you see it in slow motion, and then the boom. Yeah, that was massive. But besides that, though, okay, I got a question for you, Coop, that I've been thinking about. Me and John talked about this a few days ago on Locked On Sooners, and I need to get your thoughts as we prepare. We've talked injury bug, we talked some of the spring stuff, but I want to know from you, there's a game that you would want to see us replicate in winning all our games this coming season. What game from last year would that be? I'm going to get that from you. Thank you all for, of course, pulling up. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. Cool. If there's one game from last year that you would pick as the game that you would say, this is what I want our games to look like next season, which one would it be? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's requiring you to think about all the facets of the game, but which one would that be?
I think of 3 games just right off the top of my head. And I can only pick one.
You only pick one. Chat, y'all do that same. Pick the game that you would like to see replicate this season. Which one would it be for you? That it'll be the entire season. All the games would turn out just like this game. Which game would it be?
See, first I thought Tennessee, but I mean, we're literally at the brink of like a blowout. Plus, it was a couple days after my grandfather, was put in the hospice, and so that there's a blank there. But I might say South Carolina.
That is the same game I pick. I would always pick South Carolina. When me and John talked about it, South Carolina is my game, and specifically because of 2 things. One, you're going against a dynamic dude at quarterback offense, and you're able to really nullify the strongest parts of his game, even though there's a video of him throwing R. Mason Thomas off of him, like with one arm before he tries to throw the ball. That was the most impressive thing I'd ever seen from a human being, but he's also, Lenore Sells is ginormous. But the run game was great. You had both backs out there doing it. John did everything he needed to do, but not too much. And the defense was stout. 24-9, fantastic. That, to me, you shouldn't have gave up the touchdown, but they didn't call the pass interference, or the holding, actually. The egregious amount of holding that was happening in that play. But I'm 100% on the South Carolina game. Michigan is a great consolation. I don't argue with anybody that picks out Michigan. The only thing about Michigan is I don't want Mateer to have to do everything.
Yeah, that's what I don't want the entire year.
But when you're trying to win a game, I do want him to say, hey, boys, get on my back and lead the way. I have no problem with that. But that balance we got out of that South Carolina game, you got a passing touchdown, you got a couple rushing touchdowns. The line was just moving furniture. You put Dylan Stewart out because he came in a little bit banged up, and you kept moving him around enough to where he had to come out completely. That one to me was the game that I was like, y'all put it together this way every week. More so because I've said it. The score to me, if we can just win by 10 all the time and keep people under 10 points or under 15 points, I'm good. 25-15, I'm happy.
I would almost say South Carolina, the offense was more, it was more of one of those situations where the offense actually did pretty well. Because, like in Michigan, it was John. I mean, it was essentially John. We couldn't run the ball worth a damn against Auburn. And Kanik,
yeah. some love too. But But yes, it was John, basically, yes.
I would say the Alabama game, like we started on fire, on offense, and everything went well. Alabama won. I mean, I could even say like outside of the interceptions, like the LSU game, you saw a lot of really, really good concepts. John threw for 300 yards. The first interception obviously is a tip up in the air. It is what it is. The other two, I mean, he threw one to the 6'5" defensive back, and who was it? I think it was Jelani Gibson didn't fight for the ball
he didn't fight
at all.
For it. Yeah, your receiver didn't fight for it.
But yeah, it's the South Carolina game. It's just because it was the best, vision of complementary football. You had the running game, super effective. You had John Mateer, really patient. South Carolina also. South Carolina took leads late in the game against Ole Miss, Alabama, Texas A&M. So it wasn't like that was just a doormat team. They couldn't close the door. And again, if we're going to say Lenore Sellers' little brother, was it Reggie that cleaned his clock?
Ooh, yeah, Reggie cooked little Sellers.
So, but yeah, it's now. If you said, Coop, go right our year, I'm still at the spot to where if this offensive line mixed with these tight ends and these backs can go out there and just average 145, 150 yards per game, just something consistent to where it's always a portion. It's always something you got to think about. I think the passing game is going to be better, but I think that if you do that, you're putting yourself in the 30 to 35 points, and your defense, I mean, on a bad day gives up 20, you still win 35-20. I take that all day.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% there. The hope for me is the defense keeps turning it up. Okay, let's talk. ESPN drops the SP Plus every year ranking, early part of the year. I'm explaining what that means in a second. Thank you all for, of course, pulling up. Go ahead and hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. I gotta pull this up for the people. ESPN's ranking of the. They do this every. Bill Connelly is his metric, and what it is it's predictive. It doesn't count wins or losses like that. It's based upon roster and recruiting. It's a lot of stuff that's heavily predictive, and then like play stuff in general.
Play style.
Yeah, play style, tempo. It's adjusted by the opponent. So, like, as you all know, styles make fights. We've talked about this here on numerous occasions. And so there's certain situations where certain teams are just got other teams' number because of the style of play.
Yeah.
And sometimes they may not be better, but sometimes they pull out that W, and it sucks. But at the same time, what? You start to understand it. And so let me go pull this up. I had it a minute ago, and I ended up closing on accident. So, of course, I'm going to grab the 2026 SP Plus. Now, the good thing is that Oklahoma's in a good spot. Let me go ahead and grab this. I pulled this in the wrong spot. We're in a good place with it. Why did my screenshot not populate? Just rude. The internet is always awful to me. I don't know why.
This is good.
This is good. This is good podcasting right here, baby. This is good podcasting. This is good live stuff right here. There we go. Let me see how this would look if I just shared the screen. Let me test it out. I don't know how I feel about it. Oof. And that does not look the way I want it to.
While you're pulling that, yeah, you were talking about, the teams that just sometimes there's just something about it. And, you take away, the Alabama second half, this game 2 last year. Before that, a lot of people were wondering, can Alabama beat Oklahoma at all? And going back in the past, one of the teams that just seemed to always just give us crap was maybe Kansas State. Every once in a while, we would get up there, and I think it was the beginning of the bulldozer. I think it was a post game after Texas. We went out there, we lost to Texas. We went out and absolutely just beat the hell out of them. But they were one of the teams that just every single year you knew it was going to be a dogfight. You knew they were going to be pesky.
You knew they were going to be a problem every year.
Yeah.
This is ESPN's. Put the metric at SP Plus on there. They haven't got us FPI yet, the Football Power Index, but we do have, of course, returning production. We've gone through that and dog stats. There's snap counts and yards right there. But the SP Plus, Georgia is your top team in conference, followed by Texas at 6, A&M at 9, LSU 10, Bama at 11, and Oklahoma is 12th in the country, which means their mindset, they believe Oklahoma is most likely a playoff squad. Now, last year, we started at number 16 and, of course, moved up very fast, finished 13th. But to me, that's a good spot for Oklahoma. He thinks that the defense will end up top 10 at number 10 total, and they think the offense will end up top 30 at 27. Coop, if we finish there, and then, of course, special teams is going to be top 30 easily. Hey, man, that should be a playoff run, right? Or am I crazy?
No, the goal is to make it to the SEC championship game. And I don't want to seem like I am okay or it's running or anything like that. What we had in front of us and how we made the playoffs and not having to play in that SEC championship game, that was, if we do that again, I'd be pretty okay with that. Getting that week off and going in, that game was right there. Now, what happens if we beat Alabama? We'll never know. But you got to think that the defense is going to be good again. Is the top end of the defense as good or capable of like what we saw last year?
Right.
If the offense is better, you got to think that it's less snaps on the defense. If you can get that running game going and you can sustain drives. Now, if the offense was Lincoln Riley style, and that would put a ton of stress on the defense because you're on the field, score, give it back to the defense. But, I almost say this is, how many times do we just go, do a 3-and-out, do a couple 3-and-outs, take maybe 90 seconds on offense, put the defense right back out there. The fumbles were kind of a big deal. So I'm just thinking, like, if you have that offense take steps forward, you're going to put the defense in its position where they don't have to do so much all the time and always be on the field. Which I said that, somebody said it earlier, and I fully agree with it, is when you have that capability for the complementary football, you're going to give the break, and you rotate a lot of guys in because it's trying to keep them fresh. Yep. And so defense,
and that's what BV's done.
Stays fresh. Yeah. Defense stays fresh. They stay more potent. Their ability to, cause havoc is bigger. So, Jay, you look at this and, we're going to play Georgia, Texas, A&M, Florida. I mean, you look at all these sizes or these teams out here. I think we're going to play a little bit better on the offense side than we had this past year. I know that we didn't play a ton of juggernauts as far as offense goes, but I'm curious about Mississippi. Does this include Chambliss being back? Yes. Or no?
It does include Chambliss being back.
It's a little surprising. You see, they take a little bit of a dip because of probably Lane Kiffin being gone. Yeah,
yep.
Probably
and
because of
Lane
Kiffin being gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
and Charlie
do
Weiss
we believe
Jr.
Texas? Yeah, do we believe that Texas brings in who was Hollywood Smothers? They brought in Raleek Brown. Obviously we all know who he is. They bring in Cam Coleman. Their offensive line, they've kind of patchworked that thing, but that was a big bugaboo for them last year. I think they're going to be in the same situation that we have. Now, I will say this: 3 of the past 4 years, we've lost to Texas. The 1 year that we had competent, healthy quarterback, we won. So can we go into that game healthy? Can we go in that game not with John Mateer, nursing a hamstring or a knee or an ankle or something like that? We're going to get a good game between the two teams. But we get to play with Georgia and Texas the first 2 SEC games.
That's a good point. So this is kind of what it looks like when you.
Where was Michigan on that too?
Here they go right there. Here's your numbers. I'm going to show you the full actual list here that we can talk through. I actually just had it pulled up. This is the full list. Michigan is 14, so they're 2 behind us. And, of course, Ohio State, Oregon is at the top. Notre Dame is getting a lot of love. They're very high on C.J. Carr, which I think he is a dude. The question is what the run game going to look like. But Connelly's deal doesn't give much love to the run game, mainly because running backs are quote unquote disposable, I guess you could say. You filter them out as much. I think the percentage on the running backs on all of his stuff is like on the returning production stuff is like 3% or something like that. It's pretty low. Conference wise, we're of course at the top, and this is kind of what we look like conference wise. What was you gonna say?
Auburn surprises me.
Yeah,
Auburn's
man.
A lot higher than I would expect for them.
Golish is getting a lot of benefit of the doubt. I'm wondering if he can bring them back to prominence.
What does that say about Jackson Arm?
Hey, man. A lot.
It just is what it is.
Up there pretty. It's not very bad off, though. Where's UNLV? UNLV's 59th. 33rd in offense. They just got a really bad defense.
That's coach. That's a lot of love
Dan
to
Mullen,
the coach.
baby. A lot of Dan Mullen love, baby.
We'll see. But no, Auburn just showed a little bit higher than I expected them. Looks like they don't really love Vandy, moving into the post Diego Pavia era.
Nope. Now offensively, they're 15th right now, and it's because Clark Lee's put together some solid classes and some solid players. Plus, he's got the number 1 quarterback, Jared Curtis, who we'll see if he shows up as the number 1 quarterback. If he shows up as the number 1 quarterback, then you may have a situation where Vanderbilt's going to be a problem. We talked about them before, but we'll find out what he looks like in the first couple of games of the season, which their schedule is one I need to go study because I'm very intrigued about where Vanderbilt ends up end of the year. But man, look at Purdue over there all by themselves. Below Stanford. Ouch. That just looks bad.
I mean, it's the familiar faces. I'm curious about Ohio State. They are losing an absolute ton. And, I mean, the first and second round are going to be littered with Ohio State players.
Yeah.
Not a big Julian Sayin believer. I think that it's another Ohio State quarterback that's going to look really, really good against, the Minnesotas and, stuff like that. But, I mean, Indiana put the clamps down on them. Even Texas. I mean, they only scored 14 against Texas to open up the year. You've got one of the best players in college football in Jeremiah Smith. You've got several other receivers who, was it Chris Henry Jr. now coming in as a 5-star. So we'll see. Julian Sayin's going to put up numbers, and I want to maybe go schedule. Look at their schedule too. You got to think that they feel really good about Oregon, but those 3 Big Ten teams right there. That's we'll see what Cignetti can do with Josh Hoover. Josh Hoover is a turnover machine.
He is. He puts up numbers.
Yeah. We'll
see. It's obvious that Shanahan knows what he's doing. I mean, he got 2 quarterbacks to come into P4 and win 10 games. And one of them won the Heisman and a Natty. So I'm not going to doubt Shanahan right now, especially the fact that he's been with Sig for so long. That's the thing that impresses me the most about how Indiana's able to do this. Is it's not piecemeal. It's dudes have been together, meticulously working together for a while. Can't knock them for it. But when I look at this, it has us lined up with Penn State right now, as far as our Big Ten equivalent at number 6 in the conference, and Penn State bringing in Matt Campbell and literally everyone from Iowa State.
Yes.
That is interesting.
Just a big Mack truck full of stuff from Iowa State. And I mean,
now the one, let me see, who is this? Let me see. Is that, let me see. Kind of curious.
Where's Virginia Tech?
Va Tech.
Oh, it's right over Arizona, right there they're right to the right of Kansas State.
Yep. Just to the right of K-State. Yeah, see them in Arizona. Yep. Arizona and Va Tech on top of it. They're number 5 in conference is how they have them listed. Pretty interesting.
I don't believe in Texas Tech.
Tech's just spent a whole bunch of money on a whole bunch of players. I like Joey McGuire, so I guess it's hard for me to say I don't fully believe in them, but I don't also fully believe in them.
I mean, they played a big boy team and they got shown the door.
Shellacked.
Shellacked. I mean, it just reminds me. We've mentioned this before. It was, when we came out of the Big 12 all those times, like, is this what people thought about us? Mm-hmm. But it's Texas Tech, and so a lot of people are going to the buts are going to be, hitting the social medias every week for Texas Tech fan, and Texas Tech fan is going to have to get to the playoff, and they're going to have to play a big boy and do something about it. And we'll see.
Yeah, no, we'll 100% see what that actually looks like. I don't know. The good thing for us is that the metrics are pointing to us as still having a good defense. And I think that's because this defense is going to be a lot more underrated because people are going to look at losing G-Baby, losing
R. Mason Thomas,
losing MJJ, right? Mm-hmm. Losing Robert Spears Jennings, then, Kobe being gone. They're going to look at that and Sammy gone as, they possibly could take a step back, even though I think our secondary is probably going to be as good, if not better. You get an additional year of Cortland. Eli, knock on wood, comes in healthy for the entire spring and summer. I remember we was all concerned. We weren't going to get him until, what was that? SEC play, but luckily we had Gentry still at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Then you get Eli, and you're like, oh, okay. Back at it. And Eli balls out. He's healthy, balls out. Him and Cortland ball out, own the each side of the ball. All they're going to do is improve. And that's what's most important. And then Jacoby improves. So there's a lot of pieces that makes you wonder if Oklahoma can be better. I don't think we're going to go backwards, which is, to me, the best part. But yeah, like I said, I like Joey McGuire. I think he coaches well. Their schedule is pretty cupcake-ish. Like, it's not really difficult at all. That's why everybody's taking Texas Tech to win the Big 12 again.
Just looking through this, just expect, as SEC fans and Sooner fans, everybody's on here, you're going to see a lot of love for Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. More the first two up until October, November. Because I was just looking at it. Indiana, starting on October 10th, goes at Nebraska, Ohio State at home, at Michigan, then they get Minnesota, then USC, and then at Washington. Like, that's tough back end of the schedule. And then Ohio State, they go at Indiana, at SC, Oregon at home, and then Northwestern, then at Nebraska, and then Michigan at home. So there's a couple. I mean, the back ends of those schedules are pretty tough. So you're going to see probably a situation where I'm wondering if we see a number one, number two with those two teams, going into the middle of the year.
So yeah, that's a good one. All right, we'll wrap it up with a little bit of, I guess, we can talk a little bit on the recruiting side. Thank y'all, of course, for pulling up. Go on, hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. There's a question here about, I saw this about Keldrick Ben as well. Did he make the trip? It sounds like he's on their visitor list, but they've also been crystal ball or predicted for another running back, which to me means that he may not even make the trip.
I do know that
the trip is this weekend, so.
Yeah, I do know that Notre Dame they're going to take 2. They're going to take 2 running backs. So, I'd like to hear something more about the conversation of the no visit policy. Has that relaxed a little bit more? What's the situation with this? Because it is confusing to do, hey, we have a no visit policy, and then it's everywhere that he's about to go visit not only just another team, but another playoff caliber team. But it's curious to me because you're going to go somewhere that just put probably the best 2 running backs in the league, but their coach is now here. What am I missing? Am I missing something? Like,
yeah, his coach left. Yeah. Right? He committed in December. So I understand why this situation they'd be lax on the visit deal of, DeMarco going to the NFL. So I get it. Same thing with Michael Rhodes. Like, I don't expect Michael Rhodes to actually stay in this class for a while. I think he ends up decommitting, continuously looking around, and he's not until 28, so he could come back.
Topher says he did not visit. So
sounds like he didn't visit. Thank you, Topher, for the confirmation. I was looking it up to see. Haven't seen anything. Haven't heard that he made a visit. Haven't jumped on the boards for these schools yet, but for like Notre Dame or whatnot. But we knew that he was supposed to go visit. It was like I said, they just got a prediction for another running back. So they've already got one committed recently, and they got a second one that is that's supposed to be high on their list. And if that's the case, they probably have their guy. That may be who they go with. So in that case, I could totally see why he probably is like, nah, I'm good. And they also probably get Brady Quinn as quarterback, though. Do you feel old yet?
But we saw a tweet from Mr. Jim Nagy earlier today with a nice little boomer. And
Molly Jacoby, she gave us a eyeballs look. You got Stacey Ford that gave you some eyes. So I believe that the Sooners may have somebody lining up.
Do you think that all these things may bode well for the Sooners?
It's a possibility. Yeah. I was actually watching Pirates of the Caribbean, and Jack Sparrow had me well hyped about
Is it
recruiting or whatnot.
on X? I know that when it used to be Twitter, you used to send a tweet.
Yeah.
So is it still called a tweet when you do on X?
I call them tweets. It's Twitter. I don't care what the name is. I'm gonna call it Twitter going forward.
Does a sparrow tweet? Or
that's a good question.
what kind of
I don't
sound
think Jack
does a
Sparrow. I mean, Jack Sparrow's a pirate. Why would he tweet?
He's on drugs. He's
Fair.
drunk. The rum's
Fair,
always gone.
The rum is always going. So Sparrow may actually tweet. That's actually a good point. But it does appear. Let me see. Ooh, Samuel Nelson, the little brother of current Sooner, is in town. Matthew Nelson's little brother posts some pictures of him visiting, which is pretty dope. Right? Let me go ahead and pull this up so y'all can look at it, because it's always cool to see.
Yeah, and we're in a fight with him with
the hometown school, right? Arkansas.
With really, Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah, local school's really looking for this kid. He's a big boy too.
He must not
country is
listen.
Everything.
He must not listen to sports talk radio down there in Arkansas, because there's not a lot of people in Arkansas that are too excited about that new coaching staff.
Not right now. Not at all.
It's pretty bad.
Kavion Smith. Who is that? The Dantrell Wilkins. Yeah, they've got a few good amount of visitors pulling up, and it's a big boy. Goodness. Pops is huge too. Goodness. Little Nelson, 28. I think he's in 28 class, right? Or is he 27?
I think he's 27.
Okay, he's 27, then I'm really hoping that we can land him. So I think Matthew's going to be a fun pickup. Yeah, he's 6'4", 230. Sheesh. So he's visiting Oklahoma now. He's visiting Florida State. He'll be at of course, the spring game, which I hope y'all are going to be at the spring game. We need to pack that place out again since it's supposed to be a game. Pack it out. Come hang out. He's going to go to Arkansas's spring game, and then he does his OV at Oklahoma June 12th through 14th, and that's the only OV he has listed so far. So he'll be at Champ U Barbecue.
Yeah, there's still there's still a lot of people that are still, on the watch side for the future freaks. A lot of people are talking about the number one class this year. I probably say it would take a lot to hit the number one class. I think that the sights could probably be set at the number 5. The top 5 class. But this is going to be a good class, and there's a continuation. And I think also, if I'm not mistaken, I know that one guy that's I don't know what he committed as, but Dom Williams' little brother is also committed in the 27 class, and he is not rated. But I think that he is probably like a PWO type of situation. I don't know how that still works, but I have to check that out.
You have to look that up and see what that looks like. We'll see. I don't know. But the good thing is that it sounds like Ben did not make the visit. Haven't seen anything else on it, and we'll take that. Really no argument from us whatsoever. So, all right. I'm going to go for a walk before it gets dark. Coop needs to go eat and get him some sleep. Thank you all for pulling up. Go ahead and hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. We'll be back. Maybe we'll do something on Wednesday. I'll be around. We'll see what things look like. Maybe we'll come back on Sunday. We'll definitely be back on every Sunday. throughout up until the summer. But we'll sprinkle in some weekday stuff. So hit that like, subscribe, share. Why? Because sharing is caring. And go find the audio version and hang out. We'll see all of you next time to talk more spring ball. Peace.